Hello, ladies.
Esther, Schuil, welcome to our nest. You've done some incredible things over the last few years, and we want to talk to you about that, and especially with the book about living your dream and inspiring people.
Please tell our viewers what you've done that is so amazing with your children and your family.
With my family, well, we've decided to move around, basically, to feel like what would be a great place for our daughter to grow up. And I feel like for her to experience as many cultures and languages and everything, I feel like you always need to live somewhere really for a certain time, because you don't really, like, a holiday just doesn't really cut it. And obviously she was born during COVID time, so that was more of a issue back then, because then traveling, of course, was more restricted. So then we tried by car, we tried in Europe where we could stay certain places, and she was still small, so I mean, she didn't have to go to school anyways. We stayed a couple of months everywhere to really feel if that's something where we could settle down, but it never that settling down has never been inside of me, not in my husband either. But as a family, you feel like, oh, we need to do that or something, because people do that, right? Like kids need a routine. And it just never seems to work for us. So we just keep moving. And now we're in Ibiza again. So who knows what's next? I don't know. We went to London. We loved London.
Don't you all, when you're traveling, I mean, do you not miss your friends?
I left the Netherlands already when I was 17. So I have been very used to move abroad, start over, just where you go, whether it was for love or for work. I always felt like, okay, I start again, you know, and then you start from where you work, or when you go out, you meet people. So I'm just very used to always meet new people, and I have no problem meeting new people. And yeah, I just feel it's exciting every time you go that you meet those new people. And you can still, I mean, nowadays it's still easy to be in contact anyways with people via like FaceTime or whatever if you want. It's not the same, and I would always make an effort to go see my family. But you need to choose also at one point. Like you can't, you know, over time, with the distance, it becomes more difficult to keep friendships from like that you grew up with. I never, So I'm so used to that already. But it's maybe hard to explain. It's a feeling. I don't know.
Esther, can I just ask you, because what inspired you? Obviously, your whole experience has inspired you with the book. So, and you've actually put yourself down as Esther Ibiza, right?
Yeah.
Why was that?
Because this place has something very special. I don't know if any of you ladies have been to the island at one point. It's a very special island. It has a special energy, and you either like it or you don't like it. They even have a saying like the island embraces you or it pushes you away, sort of like this. And when I first got here in 2011, I didn't like it at all. That was the funny part, actually, because I had been living for many years in Spain, in the mainland, like Seville and Madrid and everything, and everyone talked about Ibiza, but I never really felt that attraction. And then at one point, I was in South Africa, and I felt I need to go to Ibiza. So I went there, and I got here, and I saw just the very touristy side of it. It was like, oh no, this is not for me. But then I moved more north, and I started to feel, a lot of, it was just different. And then I felt, okay, you can really be yourself here. And that is what is so special on this island. I do feel like you can really be yourself here in whoever you are.
What about your possessions?
We for a long time we kept an apartment in Amsterdam. So we decided a couple of years ago to actually sell our house. That was the first step, to say, okay, we're going to sell our house and we're gonna move back to the city and just take an apartment and then see from there if we just travel back and forth a bit. But then after a while you see, okay, but we're not really enjoying our time in Amsterdam. Our stuff is just there, but it's just stuff. So at the beginning of this year, we made that decision to give up that apartment and to put it in a storage.
And it sounds like you manifest stuff. But do you have jobs? Do you have to work? Or have you just sort of sold up and so you've got the luxury of traveling?
So I did used to do the events and but in the end we said we let go of that, and then we made the decision to sell our house and instead of investing in a house, we invest in our lifestyle, basically.
Wow.
So that is a choice, and that's one that not a lot of people agree with, or they think it's very scary, and especially with a child. The only thing I've said, I do want, like we now said, okay, we do have a place, we want to have a place where at least we could go to all year around. Like with a child, I don't want to have that you really know, you have nowhere to go. But we're very flexible in like giving that up. So I'm just, to our daughter also, we always say, okay, now we go to the next home. Oh, okay, yeah. That's exciting. And
yes, I think I had friends of mine that did this with 3 children. They had, they took them all out of school and they had a big house that they rented. And then they literally, they jumped on they got a ship, a little, little boat thing. And they were on that for a while. And then what they did was they just traveled for 2 years with the kids. And they used to arrive, and most places was on the coast, like Florida, all around America, Bahamas, everywhere. And they used to always get on always stay on a boat. That's what they always did. And they said it was the best education that their children could ever have, because when they did come back home again, they were so worldly. They knew so much. They could do so many more things. And they just educated them because they got all the stuff from school, all the things they had, and they were so much more advanced than the children at school. So I think I think I would have loved to have done that. I think it would have been incredible fun to have done that. But
it's challenging. It's challenging, I have to say, obviously.
But I think they still had their house. They still had their house. So what funded them was the rent from the house, which in fact they never spent, really, because it was so cheap for them to always sort of like hire a little boat wherever they were, and do that. It just sounds like fun to me. It's sort of very much my. What do you think? Would you do that, Nat?
I had dreams about doing it when the children were little, because there are so many rules about not being able to take your children out of school. In the UK, even more now. But when they were little, we got a chance to go to Africa because my husband was doing a film, but we really had to battle with the school. Please, can we have this time off? It will be educational, yada, yada, yada. Another time we went to Goa in India because a friend of Clive's was getting married. Another time, well, actually, maybe this wasn't quite so educational, except it is. We went to Broadway because we in New York. But all these things, and it really occurred to me, this is the thing to do. Take them out of school and just go.
Did you want to do that, Dee?
Well, I think we did in a way, because being actors and singers, I think we have that sort of nomadic sort of journey anyway. So I think we kind of, even if we don't physically do it, I think in our heads, we're never really secure, and we just go with the flow, Yeah.
And physically, I mean, going round to where is it, Billingham?
Yes.
Isn't very romantic.
Or Hull,
Or Hull, yes.
On a wet Wednesday. I think that's the kind of.
And we're sorry if we are offending any of our viewers. I come from up the road from Billingham anyway. I come from Sunderland, and and Hull actually now is incredible. And yet the other thing you can do, of course, is you can house sit.
That's what a lot of people right now do. I see there's this Facebook group that I've seen for Dutch families who also, they share like,
there's a website called Trusted House Sitters.
Oh, really?
And you don't get paid, but you get free accommodation. And what they want people to do is to look after their pets. Yeah. And sometimes you can do it for 6 weeks, 3 months or something. And again, I think that's Jen, who used to work for Wonderbirds. That's what
Yeah.
she's done. She took her son
Yeah.
out of school and she has gone traveling as well. And she's been
wow.
to the States, she's been everywhere. She's hired a minibus, you know, and she now goes in England. But it's Trusted House Sitters is all over the world. So you should have a look at that. So what's the book called again?
Issues and Tissues.
Right.
And why the title?
Yes. Why?
Why the title? Because I feel everyone in their life has issues, and I believe it's very healthy to work through them, and you're gonna need tissues for that because obviously with your
Yes.
issues, there is a lot of emotions coming
Yeah.
up, and it might.
And where can we get this? Can we get this on Amazon?
No, it's not on Amazon. It's just exclusively on the website esteribiza.com.
Yeah.
And I've chosen for that because it's really, I don't know if you've seen like it. Part of it is also with QR codes. It's like a whole audio journey as well, of like a self-discovery for the reader. And I felt like because a lot of people have asked me, oh, don't you want to do like an audio book like on Amazon or something? So people, because nowadays everyone listens to books. But since it's such a combination of reading and listening, I just, felt this was the best way. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. Been a
Thank you for
fabulous
having me.
guest.
Thank you,
Bye.
Esther.
Bye.
Bye.
Dr. Raj Thethi from the Yorkshire Skin Centre.
Nice to
Welcome to the Wonderbird Show.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate your time.
Tell us about what you've been doing.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Raj. I'm based over in Leeds. I've got the Yorkshire Skin Centre, and we are leading the way when it comes to plasma resurfacing of the skin. So we do a lot of treatments for men and women of all age groups, but we have a really particular focus on kind of middle-age related aging that happens that can start off quite subtle, even in your late 30s and 40s. And then as we progress to 50s and 60s, we get a lot of ladies who come in who've got subtle signs of aging, but they don't really want anything that's obvious, or they want to look completely natural. And sometimes they're not really wanting injectable treatments or anything of that sort. So we've got this machine called Neogen. I'm the UK and international key opinion leader for Neogen. So that means that I'm doing all the training and doing all the presenting for the UK. And essentially, it's a machine that we can utilize nitrogen gas, heat it up to a very high temperature where it forms nitrogen plasma, which is the fourth state of matter. We can talk about that in a minute. And then basically we can use that on the surface of the skin to very safely and very reliably give really powerful rejuvenation, skin tightening with minimal downtime and with really, really beautiful results.
I mean, the thing is that I've had I think we've all had Neogen, actually.
Yeah, yes.
So yes, we are the Neogen girls.
You are the Neogen.
And it is an amazing treatment. And I think it's very interesting what you said about, people are not wanting injectables, they're wanting to look more natural. And so these treatments, these skin tightening treatments, but has this come normally, these treatments start as medical treatments, as something else, and then they end up as cosmetic treatments. Is that how Neogen started?
Yes, absolutely. So Neogen is, the concept of it is not new. Nitrogen-based plasma has been around for nearly 25 years. So it's been a long time coming, and they are definitely using lots and lots of different types of plasma within the NHS with various different aspects. We used to use various different types of plasma. My background was abdominal, so general surgery. So back in the NHS, we used to use plasma to help cut livers and to help resurface the inside of an abdomen. There's lots and lots of different ways that you can use plasma. But plasma is very, very abundant. We don't fully recognize the fact that there's so much of it around, and it's in so many different technologies and so much uses. But yeah, they've used that for many, many years. So, I mean, it's been around in facial rejuvenation for at least 10 to 15 years or so. But the technology slowly become more and more refined, more and more accessible, and more safe, which is ultimately what we want for our patients.
Yes, of course. What is plasma?
So plasma is the fourth state of matter, which sounds all very scientific and gobbledygook, but to break it down, if we use water as an example, the normal three states of matter that we think of are solid, liquid, gas. So you have ice, and if you heat up ice, you get water. If you heat up water, you get steam. if you heat up steam high enough, you will get plasma, which is the fourth state of matter, which seems like a bit of a bizarre kind of quite far-fetched concept to us. But in reality, 99.9% of the visible universe is all plasma. So all of it, there's actually 0.01% of the actual universe visibly is actually solid, liquid, or gas out of the three. So we are in a very, very odd and bizarre little tiny situation here on Earth. But the rest of the universe is completely, the temperatures are much hotter than that, and they go into plasma. So any element that you've got on the periodic table can be formed into, if you heat it up high enough, you'll get it to a gas, and then eventually you'll get it to a plasma. So we're just using nitrogen here because medical grade nitrogen is just very, very, very fortunately falls within a perfect temperature framework where if we heat it up just high enough, we get the plasma, but it works well with human tissue and it's not hot enough that it causes problems.
All I can say is, give it to me and let's see what happens. I get, I'm listening, thinking, I used to nod a lot in class and go, yes, like I understood. I don't understand it at all, but it sounds wonderful. Try anything.
We can basically control that plasma energy that's coming out of the machine. It's got a big canister of nitrogen gas at the back, so it's literally making the plasma inside the machine. It's superheating that gas and turning it into a plasma, which basically comes out looking like a plume, almost like a flame. But it's not a flame, it's pure nitrogen plasma coming out, which is really, really effective because we can control the temperature that it goes to, how deep it will go, and we can control that depending on the depth of treatment that we want to do. So
what actually is it doing to the skin surface?
So there's a few different things it does. So the first thing is the heat. So when the heat touches the skin surface, it basically creates a layer that's already dead on our skin anyway, but creates this non-viable layer that will eventually peel off within a few days. So that first layer just gets zapped and hit. And essentially then, once that outer layer gets hit, the heat then drizzles down to the deeper layers and causes basically like a trauma response. The body thinks it's getting damaged, but it's not. And in response to that, it lays down collagen, but also helps with fine lines, crepiness in the skin, pores, wrinkles, even pigmentation. So if the pigmentation is superficial, it actually comes off away with those dead layers, and that can get lifted off as well at the same time. So it hits a lot of different aspects of skin rejuvenation and facial aging. Not just face, we do body treatments with it as well. It's very popular for that. But it hits a lot of those different layers and basically helps with all of the skin architecture, but without actually needing to go into the skin. So just purely from the surface, we can do quite a deep treatment. We can also do, and it depends how deep we go is how much downtime you have. So if you want to go very, very superficial, we do that. And actually that's what it's really, really good for, is actually even at a very, very superficial level, you can still get quite nice penetration of the energy. And then subsequently you get an amazing kind of therapeutic rejuvenation, which will slowly evolve over about 3 months or so. The body always takes its time with rejuvenation. So anything that's going to lay down collagen or actually make a real long-term difference, it takes about 3 months. So you'll get a little bit of skin peeling or flaking, which will happen normally within about 3 or 4 days. And then you'll get your full result, which is about 3 months time. So we watch that closely as it evolves and as it changes, which is really fantastic because patients don't want to walk in and walk out looking completely different. They just want something soft, subtle, and something very, 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 very natural. And this literally hits the mark on all fronts.
Is it something where you might have it done and not be able to go out for 2 or 3 days because it was all peeling off, or?
Depends. So I had it done 4 days ago and I look perfectly fine now.
Come here. Come closer. You look.
What happens to your beard when you do that?
Oh, so we can't go on the beard because it singes some of the hairs. So I've had that. I think my esthetician went and managed to zap one of my eyebrows a little bit. So, but it will grow back. It's nothing to mourn about. But yeah, the hairs don't tend to do very well. However, interestingly, it can be used for hair loss as well. So there's some evidence actually in the States that they use it for alopecia because the energy that's emitted causes a rejuvenation of some of the hair follicles, which causes thicker hair in patients who've got alopecia. So it can be.
That's interesting. Gosh.
Wow. That sounds very good.
Yeah.
And also brown. So why did you have it? I mean, Did you have anything that you want to talk about?
So yeah, so there's lots of different variables on the machine, but importantly, because there's lots of variables, we can tailor it to the patient, and that means that we can treat all skin types. So whether you are the fairest of fair or the darkest of dark, it doesn't really matter. We've got a setting that is able to help facilitate that treatment for you. So we can target, so for instance, my skin, I'm of Indian descent, so my skin type is sometimes quite erratic and sometimes volatile to pigmentation and to lots of other different variables. So we have to treat that skin differently to how we would treat some Caucasian skin, for instance, or even Mediterranean skin. So we have to take all those factors into account, which is why you need to go to somebody who knows what they're doing, because in the wrong hands, it could be a nightmare. You've got to make sure you go to someone who knows what they're doing and looking after these different skin types. But because of that, I'm able to have a treatment for resurfacing of my skin, which is not normally the case. And a lot of the other technologies, I wouldn't be able to have the treatment because it would mean a higher risk of having burns or pigmentation or other horrible side effects that aren't really worth.
You said they do body treatments. What are the body treatments you do?
We do a lot of mummy makeovers here. So we do some stretch marks and kind of tightening of abdominal skin after pregnancy. That's really popular.
Does it work 30 years after pregnancy?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, if you've got skin, we can do something about it. That's basically so yeah, definitely it helps with tightening the abdominal skin. We sometimes combine it with other treatments in the clinic to optimize it depending on exactly what the problems are, but it works really, really well for that. We have a lot of patients coming in for kind of upper arms, kind of, you know, where you get that
I was about to ask about the arms.
So it works really effectively for that as well.
I think the Wonderbirds might have to fly to Leeds.
You're more than welcome to fly.
Yeah.
We have a landing.
So we have to go like this. Bye-bye, darling. Bye-bye.
I wouldn't want to comment on anyone's bingo wings at all, so that's not going to happen here.
Oh, wow. This sounds very interesting. Well, your skin looks absolutely perfect, I have to say.
Thank you.
Dr. Raj. And I think, is there anything else you'd like to say about Neogen or about your clinic?
I think it's gained a lot of press and media interest lately, actually, and it's really, really come off the back of things like Shirley Ballas and Nikki Chapman has had it. So these are really kind of big names, and it's over in the States. It's doing really, really well there, and a lot of people are having it now. So it's really, really grown in the last kind of 2-3 years. We've had the machine for about 2 and a bit years now. So we've done probably close to about 1,000 procedures or so. So we do a fair bit, and we have a lot of patients come in. But again, we can tailor it to whatever people want. So I've got my laser therapists, my estheticians. They do like a superficial resurfacing. People have recurrent treatments on a monthly basis, and it slowly helps to improve their skin. So I think Shirley had probably, I think about 9 to 11 treatments or so, slowly over the period of about 18 months. So it was really slow. Might be wrong with that in terms of the full number, but that's what I believe she had.
Yeah, she did it slowly.
Very slowly, yeah.
So she kept on a lower level, whereas some people go higher and they can do it faster.
They can. So it depends on what your background is of what you.
And I think with us in our business, it's very hard for us to have the deeper one, because you know, you could be working in two and you can't really gauge it. But with the lower one, you know, if you have it on a Friday, you're fine by Monday morning.
So we treat a lot of people, TV personalities, and some of them are literally reading the news the next day. So we can tailor that treatment to your specific needs and work slowly, kind of a schedule and a protocol specifically for you. But saying that, if somebody does have something that they really want sorting and they don't have the time to do that slowly, I can go a bit deeper. We can do a medium depth treatment, but equally also, we leave a very strong numbing cream on for you, so it's very comfortable. At the same time, I've got an ocular plastic surgeon who works in my clinic who does blepharoplasty work. So he does upper eyelid surgery and lower eyelid surgery. And then he uses the Neogen directly on top of his surgery. So once he's done the procedure, he can further tighten the skin to optimize the surgical outcomes for that patient as well.
What do you do for jowlies?
So for jowls, there's loads of different treatments for jowls. It depends on what the problem is. So if is it pure skin, is it fat, is it muscle, is it a bone thing? So we've got to work out exactly what the issue is. But if there is a skin and a potentially a fat problem, then definitely Neogen can be helpful. Slowly but surely over time, we can get some tightening of the skin. And sometimes you have to combine that with other treatments in the clinic, but it's really effective for skin tightening for those areas.
What does it feel like after you, does it have a kind of sunburnt feeling afterwards?
So it's actually not that bad when it's been done. It's the process of having it done at a lighter setting. Some people don't even need any anesthetic. We give some numbing cream to everybody just because we're nice people, but you don't need it. And you can have the treatment done and it's quite comfortable. Once it's been done, it just feels a bit tight. So I had mine done on 1 joule, which is relatively high for my skin type. Comparatively, some patients I would treat, Caucasian patients, for instance, I would treat sometimes on a 1.2, 1.3 or so. So not that far off, really. I didn't have any pain. There wasn't any kind of twitching or itchiness or anything. It was very, very calm. The only thing I found was it was a bit tight for a day or two. And then all the little tiny peely, flaky bits started coming off. And then by yesterday, it was completely normalized. If you look on my Instagram, you can see I've done a full journey of my face as it's progressing through the different days, because I think it's important to show that we can walk the walk as well as talk the talk. It's important.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting that you, as a man, have had it done, because I'm sure a lot of men have only just started really taking interest in these things, and also because everyone needs to look. They're sort of doing all this stuff, working out. Meanwhile, they're working out, and they look like old men, faces are old, so they've got to now keep going. They now know what it's like to be a girl, don't they? They now know how long it takes to get ourselves together.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raj Thethi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pause Live, the UK's largest menopause event. Get solutions to your symptoms. Meet over 70 brands and laugh out loud at our live stage. Plus, free taster sessions in our wellness hub. Come and connect with your tribe. Tickets are from just $10.99. Get your sparkle back and head over to pauselive.com.